You know why this is important? Assume for a moment you and I had said this. We would have been told, you're a Luddite, you're anti-development, you're anti-technology, you're anti-innovation, you have a problem with the West, you don't know how to engage with the West, you don't live in the real world, how will you compete with China? Same questions will come. Okay, these are the standard questions that will come. See, I'll tell you, multiple thoughts are racing in my head, so I'll try to make it as clear as possible. China needs to be completely quelled and subdued for actually replicating the Western nasty business model at such a macro level. Because it is singularly responsible for destroying the concept of nature and sanctity of any kind. If I had said this as, let's say, a white man coming from the West, I would have been accused of being anti-Asian and I don't want the rise of Asia, so on and so forth. But what Russia is doing, China is doing is very problematic, and I'll explain why. So I have a friend who works on access to justice in The Hague and other places. So we typically have conversations on what is happening in different jurisdictions on, let's say, indigenizing justice systems in different countries. The West has started thinking about it. So when this conversation was going on, so I asked her what's her experience with China. So her name is Kanan Dhru. It's important that she is recognized because these are her views and these are her inputs. As an IP lawyer, I have to give attribution. So the one thing that she said was they come absolutely prepared for any discussions. Their preparation today outmatches and outstrips the West when it comes to any kind of negotiation. But the deeply problematic aspect of the Chinese society today is that parents are teaching children that the only thing that matters in life is success, and the manner in which you achieve it is of no consequence. Do whatever it takes to reach the top. Beg, borrow, steal, finish the other person makes no difference whatsoever. That is the Chinese state that you're dealing with at the macro level, which has no respect for water, for nature, nothing. Goes about destroying river systems, goes about destroying forest systems, wants to somehow take over Brahmaputra, wants to plant the red flag on Manasarovar. Right? So that is the problematic aspect. Now when you're dealing with China, someone comes and tells you, consume less, growth is not enough, or it's problematic for multiple reasons. They'll say, live in the real world, are you an idiot? Now you're confronted with that unfortunate situation. So you have to be able to contain China for dharmic reasons, apart from geostrategic reasons. And you should also be in a position to ensure that you don't lose what is so critical to you, not because of its own intrinsic value. I will simply take forward what Mr. Wembers put forth, which is this. Where are the resources if perpetual growth seems to be the mantra across the board? It's not going to happen. The only way, so which is why I think if you look at, let's say, the way in which our culture has evolved, it has been an extremely outgoing culture which has then turned inward. Which is why I keep saying that it reflects the journey of the human civilization, wherein you decide that when everything is in abundance, I need agriculture, I need to feed people, I need to do this, I need the concept of a settlement, I need the concept of a village, city, so on and so forth. And then, even when resources were in plenty and abundance, the realization dawns on the people of this particular culture, how will nature survive when this is what drives, and most importantly, what happens to the rights of other beings who are non-humans? What do you do then? I'll say this as someone who has 3 dogs. Okay, I pity animals, literally pity animals. Not on the context of Diwali or whatever it is, but our tendency to ride roughshod over their, let's say, habitat, to build apartments and whatnot is unbelievable. Unbelievable. So during the lockdown in Noida, for the first time after several years, the Nilgai was found wandering on the streets, which is typically found only in forests. The Nilgai had come out walking outside the malls of Noida. So when you shut up, nature will have the time to speak and finally assert itself. So that's one. Second thing, it's okay to, the problem with vegetarianism argument is they'll immediately say, here comes the Brahmin pushing his agenda. No, it's not. ultimately what is it that you're trying to do? Contribute to ways in which you can reduce your dependence on nature, period. Is there a way that you can reduce your consumption without giving up on your basic nutrition levels? That's the balance that you try to achieve. That's the trade-off that you make. Now, therefore, my argument is going to be that the way of the future, whether you like it or not, climate change is standing in front of you with its mouth wide open like a Mudra Rakshasa. You have no other option but to take it so seriously, because if you don't, as I think, who is that stand-up comedian? I just love watching him, who specifically said, you're not trying to protect nature, you're trying to protect yourself. Nature will simply hit reset and that will be the end of the equation. That's it, correct? Yep. Fantastic. That I think is true. So you're trying to protect yourself against nature's wrath. You're doing no favors to nature, by the way. It will survive on its own. It knows its way of hitting the reset button and then the cycle starts. You hope that the cycle doesn't start in your lifetime. That's all you're hoping for. And therefore, the stupidity is, we'll try and push this as much as possible. That means you don't even have concern for your own children or your grandchildren, and you continue to have families. What logic is this? So you have to find ways of striking that balance. This is not an anti-innovation argument. I am saying that the future of innovation lies in finding a balance between this. Please do not adopt the Elon Musk model, who thinks that Earth is a pit stop to Mars or some other planet. That is the most irresponsible argument possible. I don't subscribe to that under any circumstances. Whether the technology for that is in the foreseeable future or not doesn't make a difference to me. I am saying this is the white colonizing mindset which chooses to use every planet to consume, litter and run away. Then from there, where will you go? You will finally go to the sun or what? Makes no sense. As an engineer turned lawyer who practices intellectual property, which is as Western a form of intellectual property or property as it can get, allow me to say this. The way of the future is green innovation significantly and striking a balance between growth, prosperity and consumerism. That I think is what we should learn from, and in that particular department I think Mr. Vembu is leading the way.
I have one thing to add. You talked about China. I'm going to